So you guys really liked me covering the Mickey Mouse cartoons in 1928 and 1929, and before I continue on to 1930, I had a problem. The problem is that these weren't the first Disney cartoons. Of course, a lot of people want to start with these because, you know, Mickey's the what, quote-unquote, start everything. It all started with a mouse, but it actually all started with a cat, a ripoff of Felix the Cat. This is Julius the Cat, Walt Disney's first star, and obvious ripoff of the then popular Felix the Cat. And he was a star of Laugh-O-Grams Studio. Laugh-O-Grams Studio was Walt Disney's first attempt at an animation studio, located in his old hometown of Kansas City, Missouri. And it would be the host of some very famous animators that started with him, being Ub Iwerks, who I mentioned a lot in Mickey Mouse. He's a cooker in Mickey Mouse. Including Hugh Harman and Rudolph Ising, who would be the first creators of the Looney Tunes, as well as Friz Freleng, who would be a notable Looney Tunes creator, like Porky Pig and others. So some big name people, and that was about it, other than another guy who didn't really do anything, like Carmen Maxwell. Those were the only people employed at Laugh-O-Grams Studios before they went bankrupt in 1923. It only lasted from 1921 to 1923 before being picked up by another corporation. But the building still exists, and there's a little mural dedicated to Laugh-O-Grams there. That's pretty cool. Apparently there's talks about making this into a museum, but I think a car accident happened into it. The car crashed into it. So I don't really know what's going on there. Missouri residents, let me know. I know you guys are crying because you lost the Super Bowl recently. Haha, my team won. I'm not joking, actually. I'm an Eagles person. Not really, but whatever. So what's the first thing we see when we open up our first 1921 animated short by Walt Disney? Why, it's Walt himself smoking up a cigar. Because why else? Actually, it's a pipe. It looks like a cigar in this terrible quality. Films like that don't last long, do they? This really is just a test short for what Walt Disney wanted to do, which is create a bunch of people animated for him. He was also a cartoonist early on. He actually did some animation himself, as you can clearly see here, him drawing cartoons. Cartoons were stuff that was in the newspapers, that were like funny stuff. A lot of them are political. That's actually where we get the term cartoons and animation. Technically, cartoons aren't really animation, they're just kind of just drawings, but people call animation cartoons, you know, they're one and the same, whatever. This first short here, just titled Newman Laugh-O-Grams, is just not very interesting. It's just Walt Disney drawing in speed draw fashion, which isn't bad, but it's not really animation. It's just saying stuff about a Kansas City of the 1921. Like, these cars are in 1921 Kansas City, aren't they a riot? Like, okay. Well, there is actual animation. At the very end, cops go into the police department and beat up some guys who are in their police department. I don't know what this commentary has to say about 1920s police department, but get it will you will, I guess. I don't really get it. I don't know this. And that's it for the first ever Laugh-O-Grams. The most interesting thing about it is the first thing we ever see in a Disney cartoon is Disney himself, which is actually pretty funny, if you think about. One thing I gotta note about these cartoons is the fact that they are pretty poor quality because of how old the film stock is. Film deteriorates over time, and they weren't preserved right, and a lot of films were just tossed out or very flammable, so a lot of them went up in smoke. Luckily, from what I can understand, like none of the 1920s Laugh-O-Grams were lost, which is nice. However, a lot of them are pretty deteriorated. Some of them I do have a little bit restored quality, and others don't. Disney doesn't seem to care about these Laugh-O-Grams as much as their other animated shorts, so a lot of them are in good quality, just to let you guys know beforehand. Anyway, the rest of these cartoons are from the 1922, which is when Laugh-O-Grams really started making a lot of animated shorts, including this one, Little Red Riding Hood. It seems that Disney liked adapting fairy tales right from the get-go, as a lot of these are just weird, modern-day adaptations of fairy tales. It starts off with a woman making donuts, and her cat, who is Julius the Cat, shooting it, and a random guy in a portrait just looks, I guess. I don't know what that has to do with anything. Obviously, the best way to make donuts is to have a cat shoot a shotgun at them. This is just a very odd scenario going on here. Also, the cat takes a donut and then eats it, and of course, the next thing that happens to him is he dies. Like, apparently the donut was poisoned. Well, I guess it was full of lead from the gunshot he shot at it. And to make sure he's dead, he shows all 9 of his lives go out of his body. Which, okay. Yeah, lovely. Anyway, Grandma calls Little Red Riding Hood, and they kiss on the lips, which is totally not weird, and she goes on her runabout with a dog carrying it, I guess, and he's powered by sausages. Makes sense. Some weird guy who has a giant nose is like tells her where to go, I guess, because she doesn't know where she's going, and it shows that he's got a nice vehicle. I don't know. Why is that important? There's no dialogue here, so I don't know. Apparently this guy becomes smitten with a little girl because he's a pedophile, I guess, and he goes to the house where Little Red Riding Hood's supposed to go. I don't know why the Big Bad Wolf's replaced by some creepy pedo, but that's just how we're here now. Figure out what's going on from here. You can't. Can you? There's a car, and there's a person there, and I guess the person was picked up in the plane. Anyway, some guy in a biplane decides that he's going to save the day by zooming out the camera so we can't see anything. So they capture the pedophile in his car, and they drop him into the lake, where he'll drown and die. I guess he deserved it. And that's it. That's a very weird cartoon, and that's a lot. Say that for the rest of these. The next short is The Four Musicians of Bremen, or Bremen. So the four musicians are just four animals, like a donkey, a chicken, a dog, and of course our favorite, Julius the cat, who apparently everyone hates their guts because, I don't know, because they don't like animals singing. Now you think about the musicians and playing music, but really it's about the cat, for most part, trying to catch a fish, which would be fine. It's called The Cat Gets the Fish, but it's called Musicians, Four Musicians of Bremen, or whatever the fuck that is. Not The Cat Under the Sea, which, you know, is fine. Anyway, he finds that there's a swordfish who killed a fish earlier that now wants to kill him, because that's what swordfish do. Then the animals land in a house which is full of criminals or burglars that are like some part of an army. They have like a mask of their burglars, and like they look like evil, I guess. Are they? Are they just random evil people? I don't really know. They just want to destroy their own house because four random animals land in there because they're chased by a swordfish. This animated short is bizarre. Then there's a whole segment of the cat, Julius, just riding on one of the cannonballs throughout the forest, and, you know, it's very repetitive. And then he kills all the burglars, I guess. So Julius dies again, and all 9 of his lives leave, except they catch the last one, so he has one last life. You know, apparently after this, they lived happily ever after, according to the text. This animated short's bizarre, but, you know, I'll take bizarre for everything else. It's not bizarre in a great way like Porky and Wacky Land. It's just bizarre. The next Laugh-O-Grams does not have any good footage of it at all. It's called Jack and the Beanstalk, or Jack the Giant Killer. I don't really know which one it is, and because the footage is so hard to even comprehend, it's actually very hard to even review this one. There's only like 3 videos I found on YouTube of this. 2 of them are just recorded off the screen, so it's the same thing, and one of them's like a 5-second short. So, yeah. Also, at some point, the video footage just like starts flashing lights, like it just can't stabilize. So I really can't show you most of it because it hurts my eyes, and I know that it's going to hurt a lot of your eyes, so I'm just not going to show it to you. But in case you're wondering, it's about a kid named Jack who goes to the carnival, and he like, proves to this girl that I'm not afraid of giants, I'm going to go to the land of giants, which, you know, has nothing to really do with Jack and the Beanstalk, which is probably why it's most commonly referred to as Jack the Giant Killer, because he kills giants, doesn't go on Beanstalk. And the rest of the short is him being chased by giants. I can't really show you this because, you know, the footage is terrible, and it's very heavy flashing lights, so just imagine what it looks like, and you got the idea. This one isn't too bad, it's just the fact that there's no good footage of it. Someone seriously get a good footage of this short, because I really want to see it in actual quality. The next Laugh-O-Grams shorts just doesn't exist, unless it's an error on my part, but basically, the Disney Wiki lists that in 1922, Goldilocks and the Three Bears, which, if you look it up, you will find an anime short by Disney about Goldilocks and the Three Bears. However, it's a different short called Alice and the Three Bears, which is part of the Alice comedy series, not the Laugh-O-Grams series. So from my understanding, the original version of this animated short is just lost. The next up is Puss in Boots, not to be confused with a Shrek character. This short makes sense, you know, we have a cat character we see in all these shorts, might as well make him the main star. And it's a loose adaptation of the actually not very good fairy tale. Puss in Boots as a character in the Shrek films is really great, but the original fairy tale that he comes from is actually pretty shite. Basically, a 1920s boy falls in love with a 1920s girl, and he gets all bashful. But her father, the king, I guess there's a king in Kansas City, it doesn't like this and kicks him in the ass. The king also decides he's going to kill the cat, because, you know, the cat, Disney likes to kill cats in this, because they keep killing this character. This short also has a lot of text bubbles, which they did because these are silent films, which actually works pretty well in animation reading. It flows pretty well. It was also in the previous short, the Jack and the Giant Killer, but it was very hard to see it. So yeah, I actually like this style. It works pretty well in animation. So, what are they going to do next? Well, the cat, he just really wants boots, because, you know, the story is called Puss in Boots, and he likes boots. So he says, buy me a pair of boots. And he's like, fuck that, let's go to the movies instead. Yeah, they just randomly go to the movies, because why not? And now it's just the 2 characters watching a guy fighting a bull in the theater. And the musicians aren't even playing the music, they're just watching themselves. lazy. Play your fucking instruments, dudes. So then Julius says to the kid, he's like, hey, now we're done watching the movie, can you buy me the boots for real? Because it will help you. Okay, what's the point of them going to the theater? That was fucking filler! Filler animation, what the fuck? So the real reason they showed that is because now the kid's going to do a bullfight to impress the king, and the cat had to wear boots for this, apparently. In case you never read the original Puss in Boots fairy tale, the reason why he wants boots is to showcase he's a high class, because boots showcase your high class back in the Victorian times. Not Victorian times, medieval times, whatever the fuck Puss in Boots is written. So the king's impressed until he realizes that this guy was actually the kid, and it makes him mad, and then he chases after him. He can run up to a car, by the way. How fast is this fucker? Jeez Louise. Also, even though his in-law hates him, according to the ending, they lived happily ever after, because that's just how it works, you know? Don't question it. This was a bizarre one. Well, the animation does step up a bit here. It's very weird, like, the fact that it tries to have a plot, the plot is, like, very nonsensical, makes you feel like you're in Bizarro World. I was watching this when I was, like, falling asleep. I was like, what the fuck's going on here? Next up is probably the best Laugh-O-Grams, Cinderella. This is another modern retelling of a classic fairy tale. This one apparently was Walt Disney's favorite. The prince now likes shooting bears in the ass on his horse. The prince decides he's going to invite everyone in the 1920s Kansas City to his own ball. And this nice 3D shot of the dog sitting out invitations. You can tell that iWorks worked on this. So Cinderella's two stepsisters scold her because she's not going to the ball. She has no stepmom in this. She's like, ah man, I wish I can go. And that's when the fairy godmother just randomly comes out and makes her a 1920s flapper, because of course she would look like that. It's the 1920s. So the prince doesn't like dancing with fat older chicks, so he wants to dance with someone his age. She sees a flapper girl and he's like, man, I'm in love. And hey look, the king approves. Wait, that's the same king from the last short. But wait, the king had a daughter, not a son. Oh well, don't question it. Anyway, the flapper girl leaves her shoe behind when she's running away because she's going to transform back into rags like they always do. This time the shoe actually hits him in the head, which is pretty funny. This time, instead of actually trying to find her based off a shoe size, she tries to follow the footprints, which is actually a pretty funny idea. But then he decides that I'm going to try to put shoes on these fat women anyway, even because I'm a complete idiot. Like, he goes out himself doing it. I don't know why. You couldn't tell the one girl right next to him is the one he was dancing with. Like, come on, dude. But he doesn't even try on the shoe, just sees her. It's like, wait, you're it! And they fall in love. The end. It's a pretty straightforward adaptation with a little bit better animation. You can see them improving. All these animations here is very stilted. But there's a lot of unique stuff going on, and there is a lot of repeated animation. It's kind of cheap looking, but it's very early, so you got to give them that. But this one's fun and does little unique things with readapting it for comedic sense. And honestly, if Disney did it later on, which they did for the movie, but like an anime short similar to this, I could definitely see it being really great. For what it is, it's pretty good and probably the best of the Laugh-O-Grams. The next one is the most bizarre, Tommy Tucker's Tooth. The studio wasn't doing very well financially, so they did an educational thing with live action people with very little animation, like very little, like probably 2 seconds of animation here. So why am I covering it? Well, why not? It's just about brushing your teeth, which, well, okay, so one of them, Tommy brushes his teeth, this other kid, Jimmy, just washes his face, I guess, and that's not good. You're supposed to brush his teeth, little bastard. The only bit of animation you really see is 2 demons pounding at a tooth representing a toothache, I guess. And then it painfully explains how to brush your teeth and uses analogies like putting food in the icebox to explain toothache. And they go to saying, you will look better looking. They try to make the kid look like a fucking demon. My favorite part is when it says the kids have to go look for a job. Boy wanted. Yeah, boy wanted. What, we got Chris Hansen again on this already? So a guy decides what kid he wants to work in his coal mine, and he sees that this kid looks like a fucking demon. He's like, fuck you. How about you? Hey, you also look like a fucking demon. You guys are fucking scaring the shit out of me. Now, obviously, since this guy's a pedo, because the fact he wants boy wanted, he obviously wants the better looking kid. He's like, I know you have a bad home life, obviously, because you don't take care of yourself. I'm gonna scold you anyway, bitch. So now Jimmy, he gets cleaned up later, he goes to the dentist, and he's gonna smile at him. It's totally not gonna be creepy at all. Just kidding, it's fucking scary. Well, jeez Louise, what the fuck's wrong with that kid's face? And I can make fun of him because he's fucking dead now. Jimmy Jones, what the fuck's wrong with your face? And of course, the most important thing about it is that we had a simulation of how you're supposed to brush your teeth. Wow. Amazing. I love watching informational videos from the 1920s. And yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Alright, the last one of the Laugh-O-Grams, which is Alice's Wonderland, the pilot for Alice's Comedy series, which would go on for the next years. This is the only one that's in 1923, and we'll be covering more shorts in the next video. This one's interesting as it incorporates live-action elements into animation, which is what they would do with the Alice Comedy series. It stars Virginia Davis as Alice from Alice in Wonderland, I guess, but not really. She goes into Laugh-O-Grams Studios to see the animators, including, well, who it is, Walt Disney. So we started Laugh-O-Grams with Walt Disney, and we end it with Walt Disney. Isn't that amazing? Disney shows the little girl that his cartoons can come to life, which I guess is pretty cool, actually. I'd like to see that. The artboard comes to life as the cats start dancing, and this is easily the best part at the beginning of the short. You can see other animation legends in the background drawing as a Mickey Mouse prototype character is dueling a cat, a live-action cat. It's pretty neat. It's cool to see these animation legends just looking at animation. It's pretty neat to see, actually. I like it a lot. Fortunately, the best part is only 3 minutes long of this 10-minute short. We then cut to Alice going to sleep at her mom's house, where she dreams about cartoons, where a bunch of animals are waiting for her to come. It's all very neat looking. This is when they really mix live action with animation, or they have her rotoscoped into, not rotoscoped, whatever you call it, onto the animation cells. This isn't the first one to mix live action and animation, though Disney would try to experiment more with it. It doesn't really look that great though. The mixing of the animation and live action, it's pretty telling, but it's pretty neat still. And obviously they try to get, hey, do a dance for the animation, and this is the best that you can come up with. Not very great. That was interesting? Well, too bad, because the rest of the animated short just the lions running and chasing with repetitive animation. Because the way they filmed it, they couldn't have the character move that much, so they had this 2 frames of her running for most of it, with the same lion chasing over and over and over again. Then she ends up jumping off a cliff and dying. Oh, I'm dying! Just kidding, it was all a dream. Ha ha. The end. The Laugh-O-Grams were pretty interesting, the earliest parts of animation in Walt Disney's career, as well as the Disney Studios' career. They are very, well, bare bones basic. They weren't that great, but they're very interesting to watch, and it definitely is great to see how much they improved over time. So thank you for watching. Next time the Disney cartoon marathon I'm doing, we'll be covering the Alice comedies, so I'll see you then, whenever that will be. Thank you for watching.